Thank you for joining us today for the Meritorious Military Series, Veterans in Tech. It is my pleasure to introduce our speaker, Richard Paco, CFO at LOCOAL. Richard is a West Point graduate who served as an Army artillery officer. He deployed to Iraq in support of OIF III as a fire support officer. Post-service, Richard worked across multiple industries to include Carrier Corporation, Raytheon Missile Systems, and USAA. Throughout his career, he gained invaluable experience in product management, supply chain management, and finance. Richard is now part of the leadership team for LOCOAL, a waste-to-energy technology company on a mission to change the way the world looks at waste. Utilizing the mobile gasifier called the RAINMAKER, LOCOAL positively impacts the world by diverting waste, creating clean energy, and capturing carbon in value-added co-products. Please join me in welcoming Richard Paco. Welcome, sir.
Thank you so much, Catherine. Much appreciated. So guys, I'd be remiss if we just got past a great weekend, and that's right. It was a great weekend for the team. We have a couple West Point guys on the team, and it was great. So thank you so much, everyone, for having me and allowing me to share this crazy, adventurous, awesome journey that's been LOCOAL. I do want to start off by saying, Ryan, you brought up a great point where once you leave the military, that mission-focused drive, the camaraderie, I looking back, I had a similar journey. So my first industry that I was in post-military was air conditioning industry. And it took me 6 to 12 months when I realized, what the heck am I doing? I'm not getting that fulfillment. So the next industry I joined was Raytheon Missile Systems, which got me a little bit closer, right? You're closer to that warfighter and providing the tools for them to do what they do. And then lastly, I was with USAA, which got me another step closer. But ultimately, this team that we have with LOCOAL truly is like being in the military. As I was telling the folks on our table, over 75% of our small but mighty team are veterans, and we wouldn't be here without that grit, that drive, that military mindset brings to the table. So that being said, a little bit about ourselves at LOCOAL. As Catherine mentioned and touched on, what we do at LOCOAL, we are a mobile hardware technology company that has a mission to unlock the value of waste. That's right. We're using waste to create value. How we do that is through our novel RAINMAKER technology. We call it RAINMAKER. And basically the way it works is you feed it wood waste. Right now we're focusing on pallet wood waste. So all those logistic chains out there that use pallets, right, for everything. You see them everywhere. We use those pallets the waste pallets to feed into our system. It goes through this process known as pyrolysis, where it separates the syngas from the organic material. The gas creates clean energy, and the organic material that's left over, it's actually captured carbon in the form of biochar. And as I was telling the table, there's so many applications for that biochar. There's so much opportunity, and we're tapping into so many different markets as we're talking to different customers, and we're on this journey with LOCOAL. On top of all this, if you sink that biochar into the soil, it also creates carbon credits. And you may have heard that there's a market for carbon credits in today's day and age as well. Now, one of the differentiators for LOCOAL, and I think one of the reasons why we're here in Veterans in Tech, is we are bringing that tech. One of the co-founders, Miles Murray, the CEO, and myself worked closely together at the bank at USAA and worked obviously front lines of technology. We're bringing that knowledge and that experience to LOCOAL, where we'll be validating and capturing the data. Right now, everything's driven by data, right? So by capturing that data, we will have verified results for our carbon credits, which will give us a carbon credit is not equal to a carbon credit, right? It's a scale of quality for carbon credit. We are working to deliver the highest quality in biochar, which in turn delivers the highest quality carbon credit. How we accomplish this is, of course, as I mentioned, the small but mighty team. So where we first got started is actually through a government contract. Through the Air Force, it's called AFWorks, and it's the goal of the program is to have dual use technology. So technology that can help the Air Force and ultimately the DoD, and also on the civilian side, in the civilian sector. They're the ones that funded us, and we were, at the time, it was PD, Miles, and myself, and we had the funding, we had the design, and we had to figure out how to build it. And we quickly realized if we go the traditional route of going to a manufacturer, it was going to be overly expensive. So we had to get creative. Sure enough, Miles called up his platoon sergeant, which they go way back, actually. The platoon sergeant, Josh Racy, is one of the guys that pulled Miles out of the burning vehicle. He got blown up by an ID in Iraq. So they were just talking, and Miles was talking about the situation we found ourselves in. And Racy, in true Racy fashion, goes, "I know a guy." So Racy picks up the phone, starts making those phone calls. Lo and behold, an hour away from us in San Antonio, there's one of their soldiers that have since moved on from the military, who happened to be a master welder. And he agreed to help us out. Racy rounded up a couple more guys to come help build the project, the RAINMAKER. What initially was a 3-week project turned out to be a 6-month project. But damn it, we made it happen. It was a crazy ride. We're still not done, but we made it happen. It all came to a successful demonstration back in May, where we demonstrated that our RAINMAKER technology was able to successfully charge 3 electric vehicles in less than half an hour. So it was great. The team loved it. Our clients, our investors loved it. And where we find ourselves now as LOCOAL is we're wrapping up the final design of our unit. We plan to go into manufacturing of what we call serial number 1, a production unit, here in the next quarter. And we are actually in the middle of a raise right now. So if you or anyone you know is interested in investing in a company like LOCOAL, please reach out to me. The next thing I'll talk about is the industry. So some of you folks may have heard this term that keeps getting thrown around in the news, but climate change. Well, we couldn't have scripted this better. The timing of our technology coming to fruition could not have been better timed. What differentiates us from some of our competitors, and we were just talking about this at the table, wind and solar, is they're big, they're extremely expensive, and they create a lot of waste. We try to minimize that waste, and not only minimize the waste, but also create additional benefits, right? In clean energy, in the biochar, carbon credits, in the data that's being captured. 2 major tailwinds that we have going for us is the Inflation Reduction Act that was just recently passed. So that has got billions upon billions of dollars that are ripe for investing in a technology like ours. So we definitely look to leverage those funding opportunities come next year when they're available. And secondly is all these major corporations, the Googles, the Apples of the world, the Amazons that have proclaimed that they want to be carbon neutral by X date. Well, our president has said the same. So Executive Order 14057 states that all federal organizations will be carbon neutral by 2050. And by 2030, we need to have reached 65% of that goal. Well, here's the crazy part. There's no easy way to capture carbon and that exists in the markets today. We deliver that with the RAINMAKER technology. And the last topic I'll touch on is this startup life. As I mentioned, it's a little bit crazy, a little bit chaotic, very adventurous, but extremely fulfilling. And looking back at my career, I think, again, it couldn't have happened at a better time. I think some of the things we have going for us is we have the foundational military leadership experience that has allowed us to be successful. Now, having that military leadership experience, especially with this audience here, it sets you up for success no matter what you do. But I think it especially applies to that startup life because it's pretty chaotic. Secondly, the experience that we brought across the different industries that we've been in, the different business models that we've been in, I truly feel like I've had to reach into my toolkit multiple times and probably touched every single experience in my history to help our local journey in some way, shape, or form. And of course, the challenges, whether it's team dynamics, supply chain issues, the economic environment that we find ourselves in. It's not easy, but we find a way. We always do, and we have full faith that we'll be up and running here come next year with once we get production going. The three things I'll leave you with, and these are what I consider my biggest lessons learned coming into this startup life, starting in military, going into the corporate world, and now in the startup world. So first one is to be organized. I've always considered myself a pretty organized person. It's my wife tells me it looks like chaos. I call it controlled chaos. I know where everything's at. But being in a startup, there's typically a smaller team, so you have to wear multiple hats, and there's so much going on, so many functions that need to happen. You need to stay on top of it. So you need to take your organizational skills to the next level. Secondly, look for help where you need it. And again, there's multiple functions to run a business that you need to stay on top of. You can't be an expert in all of it. So there's tons and tons of help out there. And the only thing I would say is go in with eyes wide open. There's some that are better quality, some that are less quality, some that are really expensive, others that are not so expensive. And let me just say, how expensive one of these consultants is does not equate to how much value they bring to the table. And as part of that seeking help is I would highly, highly recommend finding a mentor or mentors to help you along this journey. And this, not just in startup life, but just in life in general. It's so important. I think that starts with our military background where we kind of have that built into our careers, but keep it going. It's so important. And then it's so important for you to pass it forward as well. And the last thing I'll say for the lesson learned for startup life is, of course, it's much easier said than done, but build the right team. We have this small but mighty team. And again, I'll say it again, we would not be here if it were not built right. We've been through some challenging times, whether economically, whether supply chain, many, many different issues. We're dealing with hardware technology here, but we've overcome it all. And it's that military grit, that get her done mentality, and that ability that nothing's going to stop us because nothing is, that has gotten us to where we are. So to wrap it up, right now we're not hiring at this point in time. We're actually in the middle of a seed raise for our company. So again, I'll put it out there. If you or anyone you know is interested in investing in someone like LOCOAL, please reach out to me. But I will leave you with this. If you are interested in our industry, in our space, please keep tabs on us. LOCOAL is out there. We're on all the social media outlets. Keep tabs because we definitely plan to scale, and there will be opportunity for veterans. And I say veterans, not exclusively, but we do plan to leverage the veteran network and community because we know the value that veterans bring to the table. So with that, I want to thank you guys once again. Thank you so much. And if you have any follow-up questions, we'll be at the table. I have Petey Peterson, and one of the co-founders that'll be with me at the table to answer any questions. And any questions following on what you can reach me through LinkedIn. My email is paco@local.com. So local spelled LOCOAL. And thank you for your time, and I look forward to hearing from you.